Hey guys, welcome back. You know, for some reason, today, all day long in fact, my mind has been reverting back to my childhood days growing up in Littletown, Montana, a long, long time ago. And more specifically, it goes back to the time when I was in grade school. You know, from about fourth grade all the way to eighth grade, it was a terrible time for me. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Fact is, I can't tell you the number of times I wanted to run away from home just so I wouldn't have to go to that school. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and pause this for just a second, because I know some of you who are watching this are probably going, what the hell has this got to do with parental alienation? But if you stick with me, don't hit the stop button and go on to the next video. But if you stick with me, I guarantee you, you're going to see how the story of when I was growing up correlates to the life that we have now going through alienation. Now, that being said, as I mentioned, from about fourth grade to eighth grade, it was terrible for me. And picture this. I want you to close your eyes, okay? Here I am. I'm not the most popular kid. Believe it or not, I'm not, okay? Now, that being said, I'm also not the biggest kid. Fact is, I was that little runt. You know, you always see those little runts running around these schools and stuff like that. That was me. So take a kid who's not very popular, who's also a runt, and guess what? That makes a perfect combination for, you guessed it, the schoolyard bully. And guess who I became the favorite play toy of? The schoolyard bully. I remember between those years of fourth to eighth grade, I was constantly taunted by my bullies. I was pushed into the fence. I was called names. I was knocked to the ground and, yelled at and teased and everything that you could imagine. And I'm sure there's a few of you who are watching this right now that probably went through the same thing. Now, as I mentioned, from about fourth to eighth grade, it was a terrible time for me because it was a daily occurrence. However, as I started getting towards the high school scene and stuff, right before I got there, I started thinking about, why are these guys picking on me so much? What have I ever done to them? And I started thinking, And then all of a sudden, bing, that light bulb went off. And I realized what was causing them to keep coming back after me time after time after time. And from that point on, once I entered into high school and all the way into my adult life, I really didn't have a problem with bullies anymore. I really didn't. Until one day, I met my alienator. Yeah. And things changed dramatically for me because it felt like I reverted back in age again. I felt like I was in grade school where I had to face my bullies, my tormentors, all over again. It's like, oh God, not again, not after all these years. I couldn't believe it, because here I am. I'd escaped. I finally found my peace, only to relive the torment again. And so I had to reach back into the deep, dark recesses of my gray matter and pull up those lessons that I'd learned so long ago and how to deflect from it. And I'll be honest with you, it took me several years before I realized how to apply them again in my adult life, because it's been such a long time since I had to use them, right? So let's talk about these bullies and how they compare to our alienator. Now, the schoolyard bully, let's face it, usually they're not the brightest bulb in the room. They're also usually not the most popular. They are probably a little bit oversized and don't have many friends. So they use their size and their intimidation to get what they want. Okay, and what they want to do, they want to exert control over you. And plus, at the same time, they have that little thing inside their head. It's called endorphins. It gives them that pleasure signal so that when they are bullying you, when they're taunting you, when they're doing things to you, that's not enough. What triggers that endorphin is the reaction that you give them. When you react in the way that they want you to, which is out of anger or frustration or whatever, guess what? That causes them pleasure. And it's kind of like a drug, if you know what I mean, because the people that take drugs, well, a lot of times they're taking it again and again and again because they're trying to chase that first high that they had. Well, that's the same thing with these bullies. They're chasing that first endorphin high that they got. And when you give them that reaction, guess what? They're constantly, you're feeding into their endorphin levels. You're actually causing them pleasure. And when I realized that growing up, I learned to stop reacting. Basically, when I'd get shoved into the fence, guess what? I just walked away. When they would yell at me, I just turned away and walked away. I didn't even give them the finger, which I should have. I'd love to, but I didn't, because that would have been reacting. When they knocked me to the ground, I dusted myself off, gave my back, and walked away. I would not react. I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't do nothing. And you know what? It took time. But guess what? They decided that I wasn't worth it anymore because I wasn't feeding into their pleasure endorphin any longer. And so they gave up on me. They wound up looking for another victim who could feed into them. Now, I'm equating that to our alienator because you have to understand, alienators, they are the schoolyard bully, except in a grown-up fashion. And they are going to taunt you. They're going to call you names. They are going to do everything they can to get a rise out of you, to get that reaction that they so desperately need, because they have to feel that endorphin level that gives them that pleasure. They have to feel that need of controlling you, because they know that no longer you're not physically in their house, so they can no longer physically have control over you, but they can still control you through your emotions, and they can control you psychologically. And so when they're reaching out and they are taunting you, calling you names and daring you and everything else like that, and then when they do it in front of the courts and stuff, they know that they're getting to you. Well, the best thing that you can do, don't react. Because if you do, you are feeding into their endorphin high. You're giving them pleasure. And I don't know about you guys, but I sure in the hell don't want to make my alienator happy. I'd rather go ahead and make her feel a little bit miserable like they're doing me. You know, and the best way to do that, you want to make them feel miserable? Ignore them. Just put them out of your mind. When they go ahead and they call you names, like water off a duck's ass. That's the way you got to do that. Because as long as you continue to react, they're going to keep on taunting you. They're going to keep on trying to get that endorphin going. It ain't worth it. Here's the thing. You deserve peace in your life. When you have peace, guess what? You don't have to worry about nothing. And you are keeping it together for yourself, your own sanity, but also you're keeping it together for your children, because they're not seeing you fall apart, because they need you as a whole parent. So next time you see your alienator, I want you to think back to when you were a child and think about those schoolyard bullies. Maybe you were a kid just like me that was taunted every single day, but maybe you were the bully. Then again, maybe you were just a bystander who actually witnessed it and didn't like it. The point is, look at the alienator and view them as a schoolyard bully. Learn the lessons of not reacting. Until the next time I talk to you, I want you to keep those things in mind. But in the meantime, I hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hey everyone, David Shubert. Thanks for watching today's video. Now, if it connected with you, I invite you to go down below and click on the like button, subscribe, and even comment. It really helps my channel grow. And by the way, if you like this one, be sure to check out some of the other videos I have available. Until the next time, thank you for joining me on this journey. Take care.